Okay, good evening. I would like to call the Public Works Committee of the Common Council to order. Today is June 6, 2023. It is 7:02 p.m. First order of business is roll call. Tonight we have with us Ms. Nora Najelski-Eichner, Darlene Young, Brian Meek, myself, Barbara Smith. Lisa Shanahan will be joining us in a few minutes. But we can go ahead and get started. Do we have anyone who has joined us and would like to speak for public input?
Yes, we do. Ms.
Okay.
Larchello.
Great. Go ahead, Diane.
Good evening, Chairwoman Smith, the committee, the staff, and any other folks that will be speaking tonight. For the record, my name is Diane Larchello, and I live at 21 Little Fox Lane. Tonight, I just wanted to comment on a few things that are on the agenda, and I look forward to hearing more about them. Items 9A and 9B related to the approval of a consultant to do, according to what I've read so far, their name is NewGen Strategies and Solutions, LLC. While I do feel it's very important at times to have consultants to assist in doing deeper dives. I understand we also now have a waste management coordinator and a recycling coordinator brought on by the name of Thomas Zabo or Zabo. I'm sorry if I mispronounced that. So I was just learning more about Mr. Zabo as well as this company. I did some deep dive into their website and a little bit about the company, and I saw some of the other two that were mentioned as far as putting in proposals. And one thing that it seemed is that some of you know or believe me when I say that I'm in the waste management business. So I was just concerned that NewGen doesn't appear to have any or much New England and Northeastern experience. And just like any region of the country, there are things that are done, there are regulations that they need to know about. There are many partnerships already in place with other across the state. So I was just concerned that a company that's from out of the area so far away, I think in Florida, I was interested in seeing, why, how, I'm sure they have a representative here today, but I would like to hear more about why they feel they could hit the ground running. Will they be doing these two other quick questions? Will they be doing actual waste audits or characterizations and waste audits, or will they just be crunching numbers, which is what I know that they have that ability. And I was impressed by some of what I read about them. I'm not saying that they're not going to be able to help us, but I guess I'm a little concerned because having once worked for the DEP and being very involved with the legislation, both this year and last session, trying to make sure we don't have piecemeal approaches to our waste strategies in the state as well as Norwalk. So I am very interested in seeing whether they're going to actually do waste characterizations, or will Mr. Zabo have the ability to do that? Because we have to take each waste stream, each one has its own unique problems and challenges, but also opportunities, as I've said before over the years. Lastly, I just wanted to say, when I looked at the food scrap numbers, it was quite interesting that Cranberry Park is almost by percentage, according to the hauler, roughly the same amount as Rowayton. Definitely, I have said before, and I still feel that the food scrap program, while I'm glad we have one, has not gone deeply enough to and gone wide enough as far as telling people about how to set things aside, how to donate first, how to maybe have a backyard of compost on their own. But I wanted to know this is I will write to you, Madam Chairwoman, and Vanessa and Mr. Zabo. I do believe that the location of the Cranberry Park bins need to be thought about I do know for a fact, because I have worked for haulers, sometimes restaurants get wind of open bins and they will dump a lot of their food scraps instead of.
Diane, I'm sorry, you're over 4 minutes. Can I
Oh,
ask you to wrap up, please?
Sure,
Thank you.
thank you for letting me wrap up. Anyway, I
Sure.
just know that it's nowhere to go but up. And I do think it's important to rethink the Cranberry Park. I don't think having all the percentage is necessarily because of good reasons. So let's rethink it to make sure that only Norwalk pays for Norwalk food scrap. Thank you.
Thank you, Diane. Is there anyone else who is here who would like to speak?
If anybody would like to speak, can you please raise your hand electronically? There is not.
Okay. Thank you very much, Delene.
Welcome.
Sorry, I muted myself there. Okay, so I'll go ahead and close public input and move on to new business. First item on the agenda is to approve the minutes of the Public Works Committee meeting of Tuesday, May 2nd, 2023. Do I have a motion, please? Ms. Nadjelski Eichner moves the minutes. Are there any changes, deletions, additions? Okay, I have none. So seeing none, all in favor, please signify by raising your hand.
Aye.
Okay, opposed? Abstentions? Okay, Ms. Shanahan, let's note that Ms. Shanahan joined us at what I believe it was 7:06, and Ms. Shanahan abstains. So the minutes pass. Okay, moving on to item 2A and B. Authorize the mayor, Harry W. Rilling, to execute an agreement with the Grasso Companies LLC for project PM 2023-4 paving at various locations for a sum not to exceed $609,415.20, with the option to extend this agreement for one additional term for 1 year. Account numbers noted. And 2B, authorize the Chief of Operations and Public Works to execute orders on contract with the Grasso Companies LLC for project PM 2023-4 paving at various locations for a sum not to exceed $60,941.52. Account numbers noted. Would someone like to move that for me, please? Ms. Shanahan moves the item. This is a small contract that we have been working towards, some of these smaller contracts using state funds with a slightly different procurement process. So Vanessa, you want to go over that for us, please?
Yes, good evening, everyone. As Chairwoman Smith said, what we did this year is that the city is entitled to receive some state funds for paving. And there are some requirements associated to the expenditure of those grants. So in order to make it simple, we just use pretty much the amount that we're gonna receive from the state, and we put some of the roads separately in a bid. But we're still following our paving forecast. So it's not that we create or add new streets. Based on what we are gonna pave for this year, we just bid few streets that we know that will be around the budget that we're gonna receive. So this way, there are some requirements for that grant, very specific for procurement, but we ended up only applying that for this small package. We ended up receiving 2 bids, and the lowest is Grasso at $609,415.20.
Okay, are there any questions? Okay, I'll call for a vote. All in favor? Was that a question, Mr. Nadjelski Eichner?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
ahead.
No, my apologies, Vanessa, if I missed it in the materials. I just wasn't quite clear. It just says various areas. I know you just said it's part of our plan already, but do we know which areas that's going to be?
Yes, we have about 4 roads more that we put up in the package. We didn't list the name of the roads here, but when we put on the package, we usually give them already more or less what are the roads. If you went back to that index where we have the package, you would be able to see how the package was in. Drew, do you have the name of the streets that we put it on? Do you remember?
I don't know offhand. I see the streets listed for the next contract, so that's fine, as long as it's in the.
Yeah, so this one is just
I can-
for, but what I meant to say is that If we go online, we have our 3-year forecast that is available. We made it live a couple of weeks ago. And also what we're planning to pave this year. So on what we're planning to pave this year is one of those streets that we already included on this one.
Okay, all right, thank you.
I'll make sure that I add the name of the streets next time.
Okay, thank you. No, I'm just, I'm looking forward to the paving of Highland. So I was curious who was doing that.
That will happen during the summer. We're just waiting for the schools to be out. The contractor is mobilizing another area and then we're gonna move there. We
Great.
don't have a final schedule yet, but as soon as we are able to have a firm date, you guys are gonna be notified.
Great, thank you.
Mr. Meek?
Yeah, so when you put this out to bid, you put it out for $2 million, but it came in considerably less. Is are prices going down or did we?
No, I think that you're seeing something else, Mr. Nick. The $2 million is the next item.
And okay, but the same question
It
applies
is on
because that came
our
in.
budget. Let me just tell you one thing, the budget based on the grant that we received for the state was around $500,000. So we ended up scoping the streets that would get close to 500,000-600,000 for this package.
Okay, thanks. The pages blend in to each other for me, so I'm not fully versed, but.
So
So,
let me just explain, this is item 2A and 2B. This is a new paving contract that what we are using is just so we can directly use this state grant that we receive annually.
okay,
Due to the requirements of that procurement, we decided instead of making as part of our whole paving program for the year, we decided to bid separately because there are so many requirements that we were afraid that will affect the price on our whole paving program for the year. So what
Okay,
we did on this one, we just make it a smaller package with the streets, with small streets that probably it's easier to do with that price.
thank you. I'm perfectly clear on that with regards to 2A, items 2. I guess the same question applies to the next bid that's coming up. You put it out for 2 million and it came in like 700.
No, I'll let the one that I explain when we move to that item, right? I'll
Yeah,
wait until-
let's move
Yeah,
on to
I'm
that
sorry.
item before we.
Sorry. Yeah,
Okay.
you didn't have that same sheet in there, but I see it now.
Brian, it's really hard for me to read this stuff on computers. I have to have a hard copy because I do the same thing.
I should have printed it, but I'm short on ink.
I
Drew-
can answer the question on the first question. It's the Old Rock Princess Pine area. And the reason why we chose that area was because it was one of the few places that we could work that didn't need advanced preparation. So there was no proposed utility work in the area. There was no proposed development. There was no sidewalks that we had to be concerned about. So it was an area that we could just mill, pave, and replace the curbs and be done within our projected forecast. That's how those roads were chosen. And that was for the grant so that we can get that grant money before our deadline to be able to take advantage of that grant. And then for the next item, we could get into that, but that is in the memo that's within everyone's package. I can reiterate those streets when we get to that item if needed.
Okay, thank you, Drew. Any further questions? Okay, let's vote. All in favor, please raise your hand.
Aye.
Okay, opposed? Okay, Mr. Meek is opposed, passes 4-1. Moving on now to item 3 is, hold on, now I'm getting my papers confused. Okay, item 3, authorize the mayor, Harry W. Rilling, to execute the First Amendment to the March 14th, 2023 agreement between the city of Norwalk and Burns Construction Company, Inc. for the project PM 2023-1 pavement management program for amount not to exceed $2 million. Account numbers noted. Would someone like to move that, please?
I'll move it.
Thank you. Ms. Young moves the item, and this is some extra funding to finish up some streets. So let's, go ahead and pick up with that discussion and some of the questions that Mr. Meek had.
Well, this is an existing contract we have with Burns Construction Company. They've done adequate work. And as we do each year, we'll be, if there's funds available, at the end of the contract, we put an amendment out to do additional roads. And we have, as the attachment, as was stated before, the additional roads are listed over here. It's not a new bid, so prices were as per the unit prices for the original contract. So we're just looking to get these done.
Are there
Within
further,
the existing contract, yes.
are there further questions on this? All right, seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Hand? Opposed? Okay, the item passes 4-1. Mr. Meek is opposed. All right, moving on to item 4, authorize the purchasing agent to issue a sole source purchase order to FLT Geosystems for the upgrade to the survey equipment for an amount not to exceed $28,952. Account number noted. Would someone move that, please? Nora, Ms. Nadjelski-Eichner moves the item. This is an upgrade to our survey equipment, and apparently we're trading in for a good price. Vanessa?
That's correct. So as you know, we do some surveying house. We have the equipment. Our equipment is about, I think, 3-5 years old. And then it's time, we're just upgrading for a new one. So we're trading in existing and get the new one.
Any questions? Mr. Meek?
Yeah, what kind of surveys are we still doing in-house?
Well, we do a lot of surveying, Mr. Meek. We don't have a surveyor in-house, but we still use the equipment for a lot of things, for checking property lines, elevations, grading, also training the junior engineers on how to use. We are able to survey pretty much a whole parcel. We have staff here that is able to do. The only thing is that it's not a licensed surveyor. That is the only difference. But all the work that we can do without a licensed surveyor signature, we do in-house.
Go ahead. You still have a question, Mr. Meek?
Yeah, thanks. I mean, I shot a lot of grades for the city when I was a kid, and I know we always had old equipment. The spec sheet doesn't have anything that relates to GIS type tracking. I feel like we've been surveying the same land over and over again, and we never record it and computerize it. What are we doing to kind of stop reinventing the wheel over time, every time we go out and shoot grades?
We actually, when we do those grades and those drawings, we have the capacity to turn automatically into our AutoCAD system, and we ended up GISing most of the information needed. So it is, what we do is we have to bring it back to the office, create a drawing out of it, and then the GIS department is able to locate into it. So yes, there is a connection. And there is other features in this new one that we're trading in, specific to help us implement even more and be up to date with the new technology that we have.
I can elaborate further if you require.
Karen, go ahead.
All right, so the majority of the survey that we do is topographic, considering we don't have a licensed land surveyor in-house, cannot properly do property boundary surveys. But for many of our projects, it requires some sort of design, oftentimes not too complicated, for either grading or drainage. So that is primarily what our equipment's used for. And the topographic information we have in our GIS is oftentimes insufficient for creating those designs essentially. And I can elaborate on what the improvements for the new equipment is if you desire.
Thank you, Aaron.
That's sufficient. Thank you.
Chris, you had your hand up there. Did you want to add something?
I just wanted to add that the junior engineers also set benchmarks for us when we're doing catch basins for part of the paving program. And that's a big part of what they do, Mr. Meek, in helping us set the right grades for roads that are going to be paved. So I just wanted to add that to Vanessa's statement.
Thank you.
All right. All right, any further questions? All right, let's take a vote. All in favor, please raise your hand.
Aye.
Okay. Ms. Shanahan, thank you. Opposed? Mr. Meek is opposed, passes 4-1. Thank you. All right, moving on to 5A and B. Authorize the mayor, Harry W. Rilling, to execute an agreement with Rocco Iadalora General Contracting Company for project TMP 2023 decorative crosswalks and traffic calming surfaces at various intersections for an amount not to exceed $150,000. Account numbers noted. And 5B, authorize the Director of Transportation, Mobility and Parking to execute orders on contract with Rocco Iadalora General Contracting Company for project TMP 2023-1 decorative crosswalks and traffic calming surfaces at various intersections for amount not to exceed $15,000. Account numbers noted. Will someone move that item, please? Ms. Nadolski-Eichner, thank you. These are, this is a TMP project around high visibility crosswalks. And I think we have Greg. I see Greg here.
I'm here.
There you are. Hi, Greg.
How are you?
Great,
Thank-
great, thanks. Yeah.
Thank you, and so much, and thank you everybody for having us on for tonight, for this item. Just to give a little background, this project will consist of installation of preformed thermoplastic materials that's imprinted or impressed into asphalt and concrete to enhance safety and aesthetic appeal in future streetscape projects. They enhance visibility for roadway users, whether they're motorists, cyclists, and pedestrians. They utilize traffic calming measures in creating a safer and more defined pedestrian space as well for crosswalks. The materials, as part of this contract are very durable and engineered specifically for crosswalk projects and other streetscape traffic calming related projects. And they're durable, safe, provide comfort, aesthetics, and very low maintenance. The thermoplastic material can provide a paver-like surface, at a far less price as compared to, concrete pavers and granite. It's used in Stamford, Greenwich, Main Street, and Westport has also utilized this material as well. And it's growing very much popular around the country and throughout North America as well. And they offer fast and efficient installation, and they're slip resistant and very minimal maintenance, and they last the life of the pavement as well. So when, a million paving comes through, the product can just be milled up and then replaced again. So it's a very low maintenance and lower cost option as well.
Great. Thanks, Greg. Any questions about this? Mr. Meek?
Thanks. I saw a fluff piece on Channel 12 this week. Westport was doing thermoplastic inserts on Post Road, right down by the library over the Saugatuck River Bridge. Do we have, I don't want to get AFSCME mad at me, but do we have any opportunity for citizens in our town to do some of these decorative crosswalks?
As far as like the design of them?
No, just going out there and putting down rainbow colors or whatever you want to do.
Well, I mean, so that would be separate. I mean, this is actually a product that's manufactured by Enos Flint is the manufacturer of this product. So it's an official product that's built for durability. So it's much stronger than epoxy or paint.
I don't have details on the materials they use.
Oh.
It definitely looked like some kind of thermoplastic they were laying down in between the existing crosswalk between where Starbucks used to be and the corner there that leads into the library. Would we ever encourage citizens to do some things like that on their own if it was
I mean,
sanctioned?
something like that, I mean, on the city right away, I wouldn't think just to have somebody do it, but also the paint doesn't really last too long. Could get washed away very quickly.
Again, it wasn't paint. It was like thermoplastic rolls. They rolled it out, they
that?
cut
Yeah.
it, they heated it.
I might have seen that, Brian. It's almost like they were just like laying down these like long strips or something.
Jen Tucker said it was temporary, but
Yeah.
they said
Yeah,
it would last over a year.
These aren't temporary. These ones would be more permanent because it adheres to the asphalt, or it could be in some of the products that are included in this bid is also imprinted as well, or overlaid. So, this is very durable material.
So at the beach now, at the Pasture Beach, on our pedestrian walkway, what we applied was thermoplastic. So that's the material that we applied. And also in the Rainbow crosswalk in front of the park, also that was thermoplastic.
And that was just one of the items, well, two of them actually. One was the, we have all 6 of the traffic scapes included in this bid. So we're able to use a much, a wider variety of what Enos Flint offers in their traffic scapes system as well.
So,
Thank you.
Jim, I'm sorry.
Go ahead,
Can I ask
go
a
ahead,
question? So you said these will be traffic calming measures, right?
Correct, yes.
So how would that work?
So the difference is the difference in the surfaces. So these are, because they're made up of a reflective material as well, so that during a well lit, at nighttime, they're much more visibly noticeable. And it also is a much more defined space in the roadway, just because of the differing, you could choose a plethora of colors to be implemented. So it's a much different look between asphalt and the crosswalk itself. So it's a much more defined space rather than just pulling up to, just a flat surface epoxy crosswalk. This one will actually like a brick-like slip resistant material that's just much more noticeable while driving. And they have they've looked at numbers and how traffic has decreased speed-wise because of these crosswalks and other surfaces as well. They could also be used on raised crosswalks as well for the tapers going up, just to make them pop out a little bit to slow vehicles as they approach on the roadway as well. So they've been used for a lot of different ways to calm traffic, and studies have shown that it has positively worked in that way.
And are one of the locations, or is one of the locations on West Avenue?
So no, we were looking for these, like, with this, for this contract, a lot of it needs to be on newer pavement. So I mean, potentially it could be someday, but there's already, crosswalks that are paver, crosswalks that are there already that meet the city standards. So we would look to, place wherever, wherever we see fit and wherever newer pavement is available, that needs more of a higher visibility crosswalk.
I'm always going to mention it because we really, it's still a concern. The West Avenue crosswalk, with the triangular signs, the new yellow, pedestrian pathway. It's still an issue.
Which intersection?
So
of?
it's West Avenue in front of, the Housing Authority's building and the Bethel Church. Do you know where that is? And coming into South Norwalk, right before the clock tower.
Oh, so by North Main Street.
Yes.
Yes. So that one.
I'm
there,
sorry, I said West Avenue, North Main. That's right.
Yeah, so that's where the signal used to be at that intersection where it was knocked out, or I don't know, 6 years ago or so. So we have an RFP that's set up there right now for the interim. I know there were, to my knowledge, I know there was talks about putting the signal back at some point, but I don't want to, speak to something I'm not sure about. So But yeah, and in high pedestrian areas, something like this would be, beneficial, especially in an area like that with high pedestrian numbers.
Are you all set, Darlene?
Meek has his hand up. I'll ask another question.
Yeah,
Okay, Go
I'm
ahead.
sorry, it cut out for me. Darlene, what part of West Avenue were you asking?
I'm sorry, it's north, what was it? North Main. I went too far up the street, but it's next to Grace Baptist Church. And on the other side is 20 West, the Housing Authority's property. So they put in those triangular yellow pedestrian cross signs. And I'm just gonna say, 2 days ago, I had to literally, I was almost going to put my car in the middle just so people would stop, and it was late at night. I had to beep my horn before people stopped. I mean, it's a constant problem. Concern.
I haven't seen it, but are you talking about like between O'Neill's and the mall?
Yeah,
Back
right,
door?
right in that area where those square rectangular signs are.
Thanks, I'll check it out.
Yeah, it's a very dangerous place for pedestrians, traffic, people drive so fast there.
Well,
And-
isn't it the parking all over the place that would make people walk out where they don't need to be necessarily? We got a big parking problem down between the church and the mall, in
there's
my
a-
opinion.
Yeah,
Just my opinion.
Mhm.
there's a problem. And just while we're talking about it, so if you go back just a little bit, before you get to the crosswalk, people will speed through that light, will run the yellow definitely and try to run the red and come around the curve, which means the folks that are right in front of O'Neill's has to really pay attention. I'm surprised there haven't been any more accidents, but folks, when they go through that light, don't realize how long it takes them to get past the cars that are on South Main going on to North Main. So I don't know if you just want to look at the timing on that.
Oh,
think there
I'm
needs to
sorry. I
be-
thought you were talking behind the buildings where NHA has those houses.
Oh, no,
between-
no. In
You're
front,
talking right on
crosswalk,
West Ave
West
proper.
Ave. Yeah, well, I
Okay.
called it Wall, I mean Main, but yeah, I mean, I
Yeah,
called it
well,
West.
Right at the top of North Main, but
Right.
didn't we just spend $3.5 million for 4 traffic lights, and that's one of the intersections?
I don't think that one.
That's,
I think
I'm
that's
pretty sure
further-
that's one of them.
I think those are a little further north, but Greg, are you?
Yeah, no, so the one I believe that we're discussing is it's a mid-block crosswalk, so there's RFBs that are set up on both sides of the island that are right
Mhm.
there. So there
Mhm.
used to be a traffic signal that was knocked out there. So we're, I believe, I don't know, 3/4 of a mile south of the first signal as you approach the mall there. So that one is a mid-block crosswalk, and it is a tough crossing. Yes, it does meet, with the RFPs, and we do have the proper signage as it was repaved last year and the yield triangles in the road. But obviously, something would need to get, a further implementation would need to get done for a safer crossing at that mid-block crossing there.
And I think if it were safer, more people would use it. But when I do see the few folks that do try to
Correct.
across the street, you're taking your life in your hands. I mean, you really have to be looking both ways because
Hmm.
folks just don't. And the fact that if one car on one side doesn't see the pedestrian either. And so the light may continue to flash and there's nobody walking that they can see. So that ends up being a concern. It sounds so weird, but there are actually 4 lanes of traffic that people are crossing. And somebody's view is obstructed of that person. And if you're
And
not paying it, yeah.
I'm curious, like, why do we have a crosswalk where there's not a light? Is it, I mean, was it necessary to put it there for a reason, or like, where's the next crosswalk? Is it too far for someone to walk up to the next crosswalk at a light where it's safer?
So we do have the RFPs there, and seeing how, with the RFPs, it does meet the FHWA standard for a mid-block crossing there. Unfortunately, it's just, with that volume, you know, with that long of a crossing as well, it does need a further look to,
Yeah.
you know, to make it an easier crossing. And I know I don't know, Vanessa, you could say I'm wrong here, but I believe at one point the signal was going to be replaced at some point. Or I don't know if that's true or not.
One of the phases 4, something like that. But I, to be honest, I don't want to answer because I may be wrong on that one. I don't remember.
Yeah, because I knew it was signalized at one point, but then it was knocked out. And so,
Mhm.
you know, before I got here, I knew the RFPs went up just as a, you know, as a countermeasure for pedestrians to get across there, because there is a long distance between crossings
Mhm.
at that point. So they still wanted to keep the mid-block crossing there.
Well, clearly it needs another look. So,
No,
yeah,
I
we
agree.
appreciate you looking into that. Brian, you have another question?
Yeah, well, just a comment. Sorry to pile on, but part of the problem for motorists is the subgrade has deteriorated so badly between Reed Street and MLK, where the catch basins, the manholes, some are like 2, 4, 6 inches below grade. So drivers are trying to like look out for their axles and maybe not pedestrians. There's a whole lot more work that needs to be done there. Thank you.
Okay, any other comments or questions?
I just want to say thank you, Greg, for your work and your report out. So
Thank you.
appreciate it.
Thanks.
So much.
Okay, all right, let's vote on items 5A and B. All in favor, please raise your hand.
Aye.
Okay, opposed? Mr. Meek is opposed. The item passes 4-1. Okay. Moving on to item 6, authorize the purchasing agent to issue a purchase order to Emery Winslow Scale Company for the sole source purchase of a 70-foot truck scale for a sum not to exceed $143,655. Account number noted. Would someone move that item, please? Ms. Nadjelski Eichner moves the item. This is a longer scale than we've had in the past, very much needed apparently, approved in the capital budget. Are there any questions, comments? Mr. Meek has a question. Go ahead.
Yeah, how much revenue are we collecting off of leaf dumping? When is the payback for this scale replacement? I just anecdotally, personally, I have not been weighed in 20 years down there when I should have been.
Because you're a resident. You don't need to.
No, with a commercial truck, I have not been weighed. So I don't want to get anyone in trouble, but we're not weighing anybody. Maybe the thing doesn't work. I don't know.
Mr. Meek, supposedly, if there is no permit and if you're not in the system, you have to drive around and get scale. Otherwise, you're not authorized to get into the yard. It may have happened in the past, but I don't think it's happening now. This is the first time that I hear about this. We are actually now gonna install some cameras that even will be able to read the plate. So we're gonna be even like more accurate on who is allowed to dump and who is not. Mr. Clark.
Well, that's great, but my first part of the question is how much revenue do we expect to get off of leaf dumping?
The city doesn't make a revenue off it. Our tipping fees just got raised to what we're paying. Secondly, if you knew you were going over the scale in a commercial vehicle, then you knew it was wrong, and that's illegal dumping. So
Hey.
I'm going to say that because I can tell you that I
wanted to pay.
I'm not going to debate with you. I'm telling you, no commercial vehicles go through our yard debris site that's not weighed. And I'm there more than you are.
Maybe it was timing. I would still like to know how much revenue we are getting from leaf dumping. And I don't mean cost neutral, I mean how much revenue.
I don't have that number now. I can try to tell you how later on how much we collect from the scale. But we haven't, as DPW, all that money goes straight to the general fund, as we're aware. And what we charge is pretty much what we pay to haul the material out. So there is no revenue out of it. But what we cannot have is start losing money and increase our operation budget to be able to deal with that extra cost.
I completely agree with you. It would just be nice to know how much revenue it is. You know, the life of the scale, that thing's been there forever. You know, I don't expect you to answer all of that, but it would be nice to see the revenue and maybe even make a little extra money.
The scale is also undersized. The new scale will hold the full trailer and tractor. Right now, it's a split weight. So I cannot tell you that it is 100% accurate. That's the whole point of the new scale.
Thanks.
Okay, any other questions? Ms. Nadolski-Eichner?
Just to quickly follow up on Mr. Meek's question. So I understand that the tipping fees we charge cover the cost of the hauling. But I guess I think what he was trying to ask is, are those fees also including our recovery of this $150,000 of capital cost amortized over, 5 to 10 years or 20 years, whatever the appropriate life is? Or no, is that not something that we can do?
The answer is yes and no.
Okay.
Yes, we have to raise our tipping fees, so we're creating a revenue. We're in the process of doing that. Just so you know, before you were on the council, we were losing $10 a ton for solid waste. And now we're at least even. And with the new contract, hopefully we can adjust our tipping fees, which is coming down the future, to have a revenue on that for people that dump more than other residents. So it's fair.
Yeah, that sounds great. That's terrific. And I just, I think it certainly sounds fair to me to have our tipping fees also include the cost of the equipment that we need to have in order to run this system. That seems, fair going forward. So anyway, I appreciate the work you all are doing. I know getting these fees right is going to be a complicated matter going forward.
Can I ask, and just to both Mr. Meek and Ms. Eichner, questioning. So what was it, Chris, that made up for the loss over time?
Nothing. It was just a loss.
No, I'm
Yeah.
saying, what did we do to make that improvement?
We raised our tipping fees.
Oh, okay.
So, every year there was a COLA or a cost of, an escalation in the contract with Wind Waste or City Carting.
Okay.
And at the time, the administration wanted to keep the rates lower for the residents. And now this, we're moving forward and we're trying to reuse and take some stuff out of our solid waste stream.
Okay.
So I'm thinking our costs are going to go down in the future.
Okay.
And that's optimistic.
Okay. So if our costs go down, then would we possibly be making some sort of a profit, or would it just be a break even, you're thinking? We're covering our-
We try to break even on that. We don't make as a revenue. But
Okay.
there are other fees also that we ended up paying for it, right? So for instance, there are permits that we need to be able to run all the yard waste. There is all the material that we collect from the sweepers that also are dumping there. So, and also we pay for it. So even though when we say that we try to break even, it's not that we are charging $10 and pay on the other side $10. We really look at the number of how much is the cost to do the operation of that site. And then based on the amount of tonnage that we know that we'll get it, we'll try to apply the fee per ton accordingly.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Mr. Meek?
Yeah, it's just a comment, but on the heels of efforts to make costs for landscapers more prohibitive with potentially not not using gas powered mowers. And the little amount of money we're talking about, let's just get a license plate recognition. If you're registered in Norwalk, just let them dump there. You can get some revenue off of that. This scale is going to get clogged with dirt, leaves, everything. It's going to break when we don't have money 5-10 years from now to clean it out and fix it. It's going to be in the same exact spot. And you're paying a guy at the gate to make someone go sit on a scale that may or may not work, or you got to put half your truck on this or there, that or the other. It just seems like we could have a better mechanism for managing this. Thanks.
Do we currently have a problem with debris and cleaning?
No, we do not.
Okay, so we're unlikely to have a problem in the future. Okay, any more questions? Okay, I'll call for a vote. All in favor, please raise your hand.
Aye.
Opposed? Mr. Meek is opposed. Item passes 4-1.
I'll get you some pictures of the scales completely packed with dirt.
Okay, moving on to item 7A and B, authorize the mayor, Harry W. Rilling, to execute the First Amendment to the February 28th, 2023 agreement between the City of Norwalk and Burns Construction Company, Inc. for project PM 2023-2, permanent roadway repairs and surface restoration for an amount not to exceed $150,000. Account number noted. 7B, authorize the Chief of Operations and Public Works to execute orders on contract to the February 28th, 2023 agreement between the City of Norwalk and Burns Construction Company, Inc. for project PM 2023-2, permanent roadway repairs and surface restoration for an amount not to exceed $15,000. Account number noted. Would someone move that item, please?
I move the item.
Thank you, Ms. Young. And sorry, gotta move a few papers here. This is our patch contract. So the contract for paving after patches are settled when work is done. Ms. Valadares?
That's correct. So as you know, we charge a restoration fee for every contractor that works in our right of way. And after that, we collect that money and we put it out a bid and we do the permanent patch repair. When we issued the bid last year, we did what we have already. The scope was until October. And this is after that, we got still work done on the right of way between October and December. So this is just stretch the contract based on everything that got completed on last calendar year.
Okay, any questions? Mr. Meek?
Sorry if I misheard that. Did Burns have the contract last year?
No. This contract is from this year.
We had no permanent patch contract last year?
Not with them.
Okay. Did we have an inventory from the prior vendor?
Yes,
To
so
support,
that, Mr. Meek, you're gonna love this one. You know what we do now? We have on the GIS every single patch that we need to do. We create
Fantastic.
in-house, so every time that we issue now an encroachment permit, and then the way that the contractor gets billed is that our inspector go out there and take a picture and also measure what is the area. After that is back in our system, we are putting on the GIS, because then usually we do the repair at least after 6 months, because we want at least 6 months to make sure that the temporary patch doesn't settle. And then when we go back on the bid, to put the bid, we go through our list, and we also give to the contractor the picture plus the location on the GIS where each repair should be done.
That's excellent. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, that GIS is just an incredible tool. It's great. Any more questions? Okay, I'll call for a vote. All in favor, please raise your hand.
Aye.
Opposed? Mr. Meek is opposed. The item passes 4-1. Okay, moving on to item 8, A and B. Authorize the mayor, Harry W. Rilling, to execute an agreement with FGB Construction Company for project DRG 2023-1 Chatham Drive and Cosset Road storm drainage improvements for a sum not to exceed $864,300. Account numbers noted. And 8B, authorize the Chief of Operations and Public Works to execute orders on the contract with FGB Construction Company for project DRG 2023-1 Chatham Drive and Cosset Road storm drainage improvements for a sum not to exceed $86,430, 10% of bid amount. Account numbers noted. Will someone move that item, please? Ms. Shanahan moves the item. This is for on-call engineering services, where in an area where there's been a great deal of flooding, we're able to use some ARPA funds for this. So that's really helpful. Ms. Valadares, you want to give us some more details on this?
Yeah, yes, this is, sorry, this
Yeah,
area
okay.
is prone to flooding issues. It's due for paving soon. We'd like to resolve much of the flooding issues if we can prior to that and alleviate residential flooding in the area. This is not going to eliminate everything, but it's going to seriously reduce. And we're hoping to do that both before the paving takes place, and as well as to about a lot of the residents in the area. So that's what we're hopeful for.
Ms. Shanahan?
So interestingly enough, I was just on that corner with some constituents with some other concerns. And so I had a couple of questions about that. One is, do you have any sense of how deep you'll be draining and digging and things like that? I mean, is there any chance that underground wires might be something we could add to that neighborhood? They're completely in the dark over there, and it's really hard to add streetlights. So I'm just wondering if you have any sense about, whether we're just going to be doing like a, 3-inch.
It is just a small pipe, Mr. Shanahan, like it is about, I think that we are going with 12 inches and the biggest is 24 inches. And most of those pipes now are on properties and what we are doing, we're moving them to the right of way. But the biggest thing that we're gonna do is we're gonna upgrade the outfall, and we are also adding a couple of catch basins right before the outfall. So it's not really a big project, but we're really upgrading a little bit of the downstream of the pipes and the outfall to help with the flow. And then we'll alleviate a lot of the flooding that some of those houses have. We know that is very repetitive in those streets, and we believe that doing this project will be able to really minimize that.
Okay.
As Mr. Ian said, that neighborhood is due for paving for a long time, but we always knew that there were flooding issues. So we're waiting to have a design completed and also capital money to be able to use to fix the flooding before we get the paving. We are using, as Mrs. Smith stated, some ARPA money that also will be available that we're gonna add to it. And after this is completed, we're gonna go back and pave the neighborhood. But unfortunately, I don't have any funding for underground of the utilities for now.
Okay, thank you for that. There definitely is flooding issues, and that was definitely a concern that was raised this afternoon when I was there. But Jim Travers is going to be giving you a call because we're looking to see if we can add a couple of light poles and things like that. So at the same time, we're looking at all of these things in that same neighborhood. It would be great to make sure that we coordinate with TMP about maybe some streetlights. Thank you.
Okay.
Mr. Meek?
Yeah, thank you. I am happy about drainage projects. There's an item in here. You said the road's gonna be paved, but there's an item in here for 850 linear feet of permanent paving. Why would we do
Because
permanent
when we're
paving?
done with, because after we are done with the trench and we need to provide all our roads with a permanent paving mark, and that's how we pay, because we're very specific in our details on what type of permanent trench restoration we want, and that's why we pay that on a separate item.
So-
that road, will, as soon as the drainage gets finalized, that road will go into our paving forecast. As of now, we have it as probably 25.
Oh, okay, thank you. And then on the same line item, 850 feet, is that the entire length of the project? That's 850 feet?
Just one correction, Brian, that's actually square yards, so that's the width times the length of the trench. So there's approximately 1,500 feet of pipe that we're performing on this project.
Oh, okay. All right, because it jumps out like it's 10,000 a linear foot for drainage, and that's not the case. It's 5,000 a linear foot for this.
Well, we cannot go just by the unit price because as I said, we have some work on the outfall. So it's not just the pipe that you're dividing by linear foot, the cost of it, but it have some restoration work and a new outfall that will go on that one.
Okay. Yeah, I'm sorry. I don't understand the extent of the drainage issues, although I can appreciate they're there. So it's about 1,500 feet with the majority of it on Chatham or Cosset.
It is on both roads.
About
There's a pipe that will come from one road and then connect to the other and get to the outfall.
50-50. And the problem with the drainage that's closer to 95, is that where the water backs up?
We have to check the report for that, so where they just covered it's actually.
What do you mean by 95? I'm sorry.
Well, those
No,
roads kind of go downhill from Flax Hill, right? And so where is the
It's at the bottom,
flooding
at the
heading?
bottom of the hill is where the problem is.
Right at the
The
bottom,
problem's at the
when
bottom.
it goes to where it goes into the river. Most of the issues that happens there is that some of the roads ended up like, that is upstream, all that runoff go over the properties and then goes in all their backyards and sometimes is also on the road. So what we're trying to do is to reduce the amount of flow that goes into private property, have proper drainage through the right of way and with a bigger pipe. So this way we can really be able to get the flow of the water that are affecting the neighborhood, get out of there in a timely manner, without affecting, of course, the downstream, because that's what we also need to check.
Thank you very much.
No problem.
Any other questions? Okay, I know this has been rough for the residents in that area, so it's great that this project's getting going. Okay, no more questions. I'll call for a vote. All in favor, please raise your hand.
Aye.
Opposed? Mr. Meek is opposed. The items passed 4-1. Moving on to 9A and B. Authorize the mayor, Harry W. Rilling, to execute an agreement between the city of Norwalk and New Gen Strategies and Solutions LLC for municipal solid waste consulting services project 4277 for a sum not to exceed $146,770. Account number noted. Item 9B, authorize the Chief of Operations and Public Works to execute orders on the contract with New Gen Strategies and Solutions LLC for municipal solid waste consulting services project 4277 for a sum not to exceed $14,677. Account numbers noted. And who would like to move the item, please?
I move the item.
Okay, Ms. Young has it. And good stuff, Ms. Valadares. We've been, really excited about moving forward with this. So let me turn it over to you to talk about.
Mrs. Smith. So as I promised to you guys a few months ago, that when I came in front of you just for an extension of our solid municipal waste that is due at the end of this month. We said that we would like to engage a consultant company and to help us have a holistic look at how we're doing with all the solid waste disposal in the city, including recycle, composting, and all that. So we were able to issue an RFQ, an RFP. 3 companies responded. We interviewed 2 of them, and we are now presenting New Gen Strategies as the consultant that will really do this design plan for our municipal solid waste. They have been done exactly this type of work for different municipalities, actually all over the country. They did some work regionally. The team that they are proposing to work with us It is a mix of people that is local. They are very familiar with the state agencies and all the permitting. And when they did the proposal, they really have a very good idea of, they really understood what is the city of Norwalk needs. And they have a very good approach on how they're gonna be able to develop this plan. As part of this service also, they're gonna help us do the procurement for the solid waste pickup when the plan is defined.
Do we have any questions? Mr. Meek?
Yeah, was this put out to bid?
It was, yes, it was an RFP, it was a request for qualification dash request for proposal.
Okay, thanks. I see that. The reference link in the reference link in the agenda package just goes to the index. What folder would I find that whole thing under?
You have to go by the project number. If you go a Control F on that page and you write 4277, you're gonna be able to find it.
Okay, under Public Works, thanks.
Yeah.
And that's the other question was, that's an ARPA account, right?
Yes, that is an ARPA account.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm really pleased about this. I mean, you know, certainly we've been talking about this for quite a while. And I know that, you know, Ms. Larchella has come in and talked with us. Vanessa, we've met with her about it. So, and the community really is, you know, it's really important environmentally for us. So I'm really glad that we're able to move forward with this tonight. So I will call for a vote if there are no further questions. Okay, seeing none, all in favor, please raise your hand.
Aye.
Okay, the item passes unanimously. Okay, so let's move on now to information and discussion, beginning with tree operations and programming. And I believe, Paul, you're going to fill us in on how we're doing.
Okay, at this point in time for the spring planting cycle, we've got 250 trees that have either been planted or ordered to be planted in the next week or so. And we've probably got another handful of trees that people have requested on top of that, that'll be added to the package for the spring. Just to give you guys an idea, we've done work over at the Norwalk Green for Earth Day, Rowayton Elementary School for Arbor Day, the 1st, 3rd, and 4th Street neighborhood, Gregory Boulevard, Ludlow Manor, Staples Court, Soundview Avenue, Cliff Street, 261 Ely Avenue, the Children's Learning Center at Rudner Court, Merrill Road, Highbrook Road, 188 Richards Avenue, Norwalk Community College, West Cedar Street, East Avenue, Hillendale Manor, Woodchuck Lane, Court and Extension, Bayberry Lane, River Drive, Washington Street, East Rocks Road, and West End Road.
Great. We've come a long way with our tree planting, and you know, I'm really pleased to see we've planted so many. So now we're coming to a close of the planting season for the spring, right? So any more plantings will take place in the fall?
Yes, we've already got a large group listed for the fall related to the construction projects and sidewalk projects that we're doing. And we are also going to be doing more work with the Housing Authority also. So there's going to be a good list for the fall also.
Great. Any comments? All right, good. Moving right along. So now we're going to move on to our monthly solid waste report for April. I'm going to take a moment to, as Ms. Larchella pointed out, yes, we have a new employee on staff. Thomas Zabo is here with us. You can see him sitting there with in the conference room with Vanessa and Jim. He is our new director of and coordinator of waste management and recycling. So Tom is going to take over the monthly solid waste report for us tonight. Maybe introduce yourself, you know, Vanessa, you might want to introduce them, say a few words.
Yes, I would love to. So thank you. And we are very lucky that Tom ended up accepting our offer. As you guys know, we have this position open for a while, and a lot of things that Tom has done in the past in his career is really a very good fit of what we're looking for and how we can increase sustainability, improve all the solid waste program in the city, and the most important, improve the public outreach and do a lot of education systems. So he was very fundamental. One, the good thing is that we were able to engage the consultant and do the interviews. Tom was already with us in that process, so he went through the process of the RFQ of the consultant, and we have a lot of new ideas that we're planning to implement in the near future. So more to come on the solid waste, but for now, I'm just gonna let him go do the report for this month. And if you guys have any questions, please do so. Tom?
Thank you. For this month's solid waste report, it is pretty standard. There's no surprises. All of the kind of weights and fees are on trend. Curbside, municipal waste and recycling continues to be less than previous years. As well as our recycling revenues are down as the kind of nationwide recycling markets are down as well.
Okay, any questions? Okay, well, welcome, Tom. We've had a lively meeting tonight, so you're getting
Well,
you're just jumping right in here.
Barbara, we finished report on the food scrap.
Okay.
Emphasize
Go ahead.
this.
Yeah, so as well, the food scraps program with a little bit more advertising with social media posts and some better signage. We've received some better numbers on our monthly weight totals. So I think continuing to kind of promote the composting is a good thing, and we'll definitely be able to grow the program.
So can you say that cranberry, because Lisa has to listen that we beat Rowayton this year.
Is Tom on this call by chance? Councilman
No.
Livingston?
No,
So
not
you guys
anymore.
all have.
I'll
to
let
pass-
him know. I'll let him know. Our hearts are
Thank
broken.
you,
We're shocked.
Councilwoman Shanahan, please, because not only did we beat you in one site, we beat you in both sites. Just saying.
I don't know. Where is everybody this month?
This is
Yeah.
huge, huge. Yeah, we're doing great.
Transportation came in at 4,500 pounds. Rowayton came in at 3,600 pounds, and Cranberry Park came in at 3,900 pounds.
Wow.
The truth is, nobody's happier than I am. Everything's gotten beat. I like it. The rest of the city's doing this. That's great news.
Yeah, I mean, you were so involved in the pilot program, right, in Rowayton, and look how it's grown. So yeah, thanks, Lisa.
So we're gonna continue monitoring to see if it continues to go up, and if so, we'll try to add one more site. Not now, we're just waiting for it. It has to pick up a little bit more, but we'll see how it goes in the next few months. If we do not reach a plateau, we'll add one more. That's the idea.
Great. Good stuff. Okay, and so let's move on to our project status.
Yeah, so I'll let our senior engineers go through their projects. So Drew is here. Drew, if you don't mind, go through Dreamy Hollow and then the paving right after.
Sure. So on Dreamy Hollow, we're making progress on Daphne Drive. We're quickly approaching the intersection with Surrey. And so then we'll be able to continue our efforts there. So we've finished Friendly, and we're almost finished with Daphne, and we'll be moving along Saddle, soon enough. Going into paving, we've got Aiken and Richards on the horizon very soon, very shortly, within the next month, I would say, that we're going to see either completion or extensive progress. For the current paving contract, we've completed 14 roads. And we're nearing our last priority area from our base contract, which is great. We're happy with the amount of progress we've made with our base contract of this year's paving contract, which is what gives us the opportunity to add these additional streets that we're proposing, that we have proposed on tonight's agenda. I'm happy with the progress that we're making on all fronts.
Thanks, Joe. Maybe we can now go to sidewalks then.
Yep, just as soon as I can figure out how to unmute myself there. Thank you, everyone, for
Oh, hold on. Nora has a question.
I can ask it at the end. That's fine.
Okay.
Okay. So on the sidewalk program, the first one is we have a various location bid. That's really our preparation of ramps and sidewalk sections for our paving program. We've completed 5 of the 8 streets that were programmed there. We're deeply in progress on the 6th Street, and that's in the South Norwalk area in the Bridge and Buddha. If you remember last year, we did Cliff Street and the adjacent road there in that neighborhood. So what we're looking to do is establish curbing and allow people to walk in those neighborhoods safely. So that progress is going well. On the second sidewalk contract, again, splitting these up, that's the Morton and Sanga neighborhood, effectively connecting Taylor to Scribner. We're a little over a third of the way complete on that. That program includes grass strips for trees and some traffic calming bump outs at the intersection on Morton and Avenue C that we designed in conjunction with our Transportation Mobility and Parking Department. On the sidewalk program for 23-1 is the Spring Hill neighborhood. So we are substantially complete on the east odd side of the street. That's about 2,000 linear feet of curb and sidewalk that was finished, eliminating some gaps and connecting effectively everyone from the north end at the cemetery almost to Van Buren. We need to finish the bottom portion of the road there, but we've also begun the even side of the street this morning. So progress is going well on the sidewalk program. And again, that's in anticipation of releasing those streets to the paving program. Those streets all need paving and been waiting quite a bit of time. So the neighbors are pretty happy about that.
I imagine so. Great.
Thanks, Dan. Paul, maybe you can give us an update on Freeze Park and then the other 2 bridges.
Okay, Freeze Park, the rails that were to be removed and repainted have all been completed. It's about 2/3 of the way from Burnell Boulevard down toward Wall Street. That's been completed and done. We are at this point waiting for the stone facing material for the new columns that are going in. Those columns have been poured. Once that material comes in, the crash rated rails that have already actually been delivered can be installed. We're just waiting for the lengths to be cut to what the stone is on the new facing, but you can't do that yet until you actually have that stone, and they're waiting for that to be delivered in the next week or 2. And at that point in time, that would pretty much complete that project, except for work that's got to be done on the south side of Wall Street, and that'll be coming once another project is completed over there. The Bonnie Brook Road, we've given the contractor all the information to order the Timber Merritt Parkway guide rail that's going to be installed over there. They're working on getting that ordered and delivered. Once that is delivered, we can install that and then do the final road paving over there. And then on Cannon Street, they've started to do work there and removed some of the old retaining wall that had to be removed. It was collapsing, and are in the process of getting ready to do form work and pour the new retaining wall that'll be going in there. And they've also removed the existing railing on both sides of the bridge to pour the new parapets that will be installed there also. So they're moving along.
Thanks, Paul. So those are the active projects that we have that is going on now. If you guys have any questions, we're happy to answer.
Nora, you had a question?
I did, and it's not, it's a question about the CT projects. So the repaving of Meadow Street, which I know is a state road, right? And that's being done by the state, correct?
Correct. So what happened is that is under the maintenance of the Connecticut DOT, and we are just pretty much notified. Nora, this is one area that kind of they call us for the meeting. We go there and then they said, okay, this is the schedule. Unfortunately, there is not much that we can do about it. Sometimes they listen to us, like last year, they were gonna pave that area. I think that was on the same weekend that we're gonna pave right in front of the mall, and also was the Oyster Festival. So we said, cannot happen at all. So we were able to push another week. But I know that it was inconvenient. I know that they work at night, but Connecticut DOT paves at night. So for them, that's their regular hours. That's why when you see the work at I-95 and the Merit, it is at night. It's not usually during the day because they don't want to disturb traffic.
That actually wasn't my concern. I just felt like what a missed opportunity, given that we are going to be rethinking that whole area in relation to the school going in. I know we've set aside, I think, $1.5 million for TMP projects there. And I just like, it was a sort of moment where I just felt frustrated largely on your all behalf, right? This is the kind of thing that I think you have done such a terrific job of not having happen any longer in the city, right? The uncoordinated work, the sort of, doing something that then 2 years later, we're going to rip up and try to redo. So I just, I was wondering what, if anything, we can do to encourage better. I mean, maybe Leisha being at DOT will be the solution.
Yeah, probably. But most of the time when there is like a major project like that, we usually try to coordinate. At the same time, that area in particularly really need the paving. And sometimes when we push them back, we do not have the guarantee that they're gonna come back at a certain time, and that will expand the limits of our paving to our own project. So it's much easier to work with them when it's a capital project that they need to do. So for instance, in anything related to, for instance, I'll use like the bridge, Strawberry Hill. So that is a much easier for us to coordinate, because we can say, okay, we are gonna do this project on the other corner. Can you guys hold them here? Or maybe can we extend the sidewalk to meet ours? When it's maintenance, is a different crew and they're just pretty much milling and paving. If we tell them we don't want it, do not know when they're gonna come back, because then they can change a little bit their maintenance schedule, and then we may be without that paving for another 5 years. So sometimes it's worth the risk on redoing again, particularly when we do not have a final plan on how it's gonna look like. But I agree with you. And Nora, all the time that I can, I make sure that we try to do all the projects in coordination and we don't do things twice.
No, and I've really, really appreciated that sort of ethos on the part of the department. And it was just so funny. I drove down the road and I was like, oh, DOT. So anyway, that is helpful to understand that the maintenance crew really, there is the risk there of not getting it done if we push back too hard. So thank you. I appreciate it. And I'm looking forward to the TMP planning on what we're going to do about the school there.
Yes.
Any other questions? Okay, Darlene, you wanted to add something?
Oh, okay, you're at the end.
Yeah,
So
we're
I
at
just
the
want, are you at the end? It's okay. So this was a really good meeting. I have to say that. I think this is a very good meeting. And you introduced Tom, the new employee, but I had to say, I shared with Barbara that there are a few other new folks in the office. You have your interns, and I know there's another young man. I'm not sure exactly what his position is. But I did mention to Barbara that I think it's worth mentioning, in particular, because this is a very diverse group of young people that have been hired in the department. And I'm very pleased about that. I'd like to think it has something to do with the DEI, and our commitment to that. I don't know, but also I'm your leadership in your department. So I just thought to mention that, and it would be great to, I think as council representatives, we're always excited when we can have young people get their start here in this setting. And I think it's a good thing for them to even feel more a part of City Hall and how business functions and what we do. And let's see their faces, because we may not see them much, and just have them be introduced to us. I'd love to see that, but that's up to you, Ms. Valadares, at our next meeting. So just kudos to the whole department, everybody. Appreciate everything you do.
Thank you, I appreciate all your kind words, and I have to say, I do have a very, very good team, and some of them started with us very young, like Drew started as an intern, as Aaron, and also Wilbur, that they are here, and like this last week, we started our summer intern program, so we had 5 interns for the summer. If you check the social media tomorrow, that's what we're gonna post our interns for the summer. But it's good, we like that. I think that we go through a lot of ideas, is good to have diversity. So we make us think out of the box and see and put us on check if we're doing the right thing all the time. But I appreciate it.
Well deserved, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks for adding that, Darlene, and for commenting also on Vanessa's leadership. You've done an incredible job. You're going to continue to do a great job, and I think we're all really pleased with what we're seeing. So we just keep moving forward.
Thank you, but again, by myself, it's I have a very, very good team behind me. I'm just one out here. Everybody does fun. Above and beyond.
You do. It's a great team. Really, really great team. And please feel free, invite the interns to our next meeting and they can say hello.
Mr. Meek has his hand up.
Oh, Mr. Meek, go ahead.
Sorry, I would just have to say, if the city didn't hire me 30 years ago as a kid, when I thought I might want to be a civil engineer, I probably wouldn't even be here tonight. It was an exposure to the city, local governance, civic involvement that has kind of kept me in tune ever since. And I'm 1000% behind any program that brings kids in and up, and hopefully from Norwalk.
Yes.
Thanks.
Agreed.
Thank you.
Thanks, Brian. Okay, I think we're all set.
Mrs. Smith, I just want to flag that our next meeting is scheduled for Tuesday, July 4th, so that is not going to happen because it's a holiday.
Thank you for bringing that up. I know we have that on the agenda, but I neglected to think about it. So, yep, holiday, so no July meeting is what it looks like, right? No July meeting.
Right.
Unless something major comes up, then we have to call a special.
Yeah, I would say that we don't have any major bids out. We don't have any major procurement, so I would say that as of today, we may not need a July meeting. If so,
Okay.
I'll reach out and then we'll need to schedule a special one.
Right. Okay. Perfect. All right, then I will take a motion to adjourn. Okay, Ms. Nadjelski-Eichner, all in favor?
Hi.
Great meeting. It was a great meeting. Thanks. Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Good night.
Right, take care.
Bye.